All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Fair Ones and Fairways. Noel Sosa in the building, hanging out with my guys. We got Fernando the Hurricane Rivas, and we got my man Ivory Towns from the Whatever You Say podcast tapping in. Fernando, what's up, brother?
What's going on, brother? Another week of boxing, man, and a seismic shift. A huge announcement over the last few days, and it's a lot to unpack there, right?
A lot to unpack. We got to talk about it, man. Ivory Towns, whatever you say. What's going on, big bro?
How we doing, fellas? How we doing, man? I'm gonna just say somebody got that ass woke up about a week ago, right?
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about.
It may look different going forward, man.
Yeah, man. It's so much has happened in the world of boxing. We've had a chance to talk to each other offline because it's been a couple of weeks since we did a show, and it was like, man, it's hard to keep up right now, man. There's a lot going on. But excited to talk about it. Excited to dive into something we're all passionate about, and that's the sweet science, man, the sport of boxing. Real quick though, something that just happened at the time of this recording last night. At the time of this recording, a couple of fights. Just real quick, we'll give a recap on before we start deep diving into some of the big issues, like you said, some of that seismic shift in the boxing world, all that stuff. Just real quick, let's start with the easy breezy. Just happened, fresh off the press. Edgar Berlanga makes his return, fails to make weight, but works it out with his opponent, Jonathan Gonzalez-Ortiz, and gets in there, gets him out of there. First round KO. I guess Berlanga did what he needed to do, right? I mean, outside of failing to make weight, he did what he needed to do.
Yeah. I mean, it was, basically just a showcase. I guess it's unfortunate when you get him out of there that quickly because it's like you don't get to get many reps in. You want to get some rounds in, get some sharpness back to you because he has to process the Canelo fight. So theoretically you kind of want to get some rounds in. But hey, you got that power, you got that left hook, you got that ability, man. So yeah, you can get him out of there quick, I guess. Take them out, But his opponent, I know he was catching some flack because he looked a little soft in the midsection. But he had that. He was coming off a 10-year layoff too. Let's keep that in mind.
Damn.
But he, when he was active, he fought to a draw with Sergey Sinzaruk. If y'all remember him, he was
right.
Had some hype to him back in the day.
Undefeated.
He beat Porky Medina. He's seen a who's who of the guys up there. So he wasn't any slouch, but he was coming off that 10-year layoff.
Did not look the same.
Did not look the same. And we saw what happened, man. One round. Hopefully, Berlanga can get a big name now. There's a guy that's out there on social media keeps calling him out. We all know who he is.
Them guys are gonna have to fight, man. He's gonna have to see Caleb Plant. But look, man. Before I get into that, I want to say this about Edgar. And I think we may not agree on this, but let me just give you my 2 cents. When Edgar Berlanga fought Canelo Alvarez, his fight previous to this, right? I thought Edgar showed me something. He didn't just lay down. He had a couple opportunities where he could have laid down, but he kept on fighting. Listen, he got whooped, right? Canelo definitely did work on Berlanga, including that beautiful knockdown shot. But Berlanga did show me that he's got something in him. He's a young gun. He's a young warrior. I really did not like the way that Edgar carried himself going into this fight. As far as I don't know why he was wearing. I don't want to listen. I don't know much about fashion. Okay, so I'm not going to get in there. The only thing I can talk to you about is men's suits. That's it. That's the only thing I really know about. And maybe I'm just an old man now. But the way Edgar was dressing, the way his attitude and his cockiness and arrogance, I said the only way that works out is if you go in the ring and you do some work. Which again he took care of business. And I try to give Edgar a little bit of credit because when you're that young. And you've just come off the biggest payday of your life, even though it was in defeat. The man's papered up, made himself some good money. I try not to be too critical of young people because I remember when I was young how foolish I was, But I'd like to see a little bit more. I don't know. I want a little refinement in Edgar Berlanga. I'd like to see him step his game up and elevate just a little bit. And hopefully that'll translate to the ring. And again, great performance, but he did fail to make weight. And to me, if you're failing to make weight, that's a big no-no. I mean, again, you got to be professional. This is a sport. And especially at that level where you're making that kind of money, I think it's an absolute must that you make weight. But that's my 2 cents on Edgar Berlanga. But yeah, he's got to fight Caleb Plant, right? I mean, Ivory, Caleb Plant, we've seen him fight many times. We know what he brings to the table. The way these two guys keep getting at each other, I mean, come on, man, it's time for that. It's time, at least in my opinion. I mean, what are your thoughts?
And I guess I thought it was supposed to be a squabble between Plant and one of the Charlos.
Well, they thought they were talking about that too, especially after the slap incident, right?
Right. So after SmackDown in the backstage, I thought that was going to be the next one, but the way Berlanga and Caleb Plant getting at each other now, that has to happen. Is Plant becoming a heel? Is Plant just becoming that guy?
I think Berlanga's the heel. I think Berlanga. Yeah. Am I right, Fernando? Berlanga's the heel here.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
In this particular case, okay.
Once that Canelo check cleared, he's out there. He's celebrating. But
for Berlanga, he gets no credit for me for this win. I mean, you don't make weight. You fight a guy on a 10-year layoff. I've never heard of that. So I don't know. I mean, good thing is happening young in his career as a young man. This is a lesson for him. But as a fan, as a spectator, you don't get much credit for me for this one.
And Caleb Plant, you can tell he's just trying to get fights. At this stage in his career, he just wants big fights. He wants to make some money, before he goes out. So it's just him trying to get some fights as well. But I don't know what the odds would look like, but I'm going to tell you right now, I think Plant beats Berlanga.
Yeah.
I think Plant beats. Furthermore, I would not be surprised to see him stop Berlanga.
Just on experience alone?
Experience alone, mental toughness alone. I learned a lot from Berlanga. I learned a lot from Berlanga when he got in that Canelo fight, especially when he got dropped and he's I'm just like, man, like, what are you doing, bro? Like, you have to fight. You got to fight. You have to fight. And let's remember, when Caleb Plant fought Canelo, he tried to win that fight. He was very much in it till he wasn't, until he got stopped in the 11th round and he kind of went out on his shield. So, I learned a lot. You can learn a lot from fighters in defeats. And I think, with Berlanga, I think he was just happy to be there that night. Still kudos to him. He got a big payday. He just came back with a first-round KO. He's probably going to get another big fight down the line. I just feel like Caleb Plant's got a little bit more dog in him at this stage in his career. If they were to run it, I think, I think that would be what carries Plant through, to a win.
I honestly can't call it right now, man. I think I got maybe a little more faith in Edgar, especially if he can rise, to the occasion of the moment. He's got a little less miles on him, and I don't know. I want to say that he learned something from getting in there with Canelo, but we can't really know because he, one round in and out of there.
Yeah. He needs some rounds. He needs to go some rounds.
Yeah.
If you was a trainer, you calling some heavy sparring partners coming up for Berlanga?
Yeah, you definitely do, because at the end of the day, you still need to learn how to take a hit from a big guy, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes a lot of welterweights do that when they're gonna fight like a big welterweight. They'll spar some middleweights, super middleweights. They kind of get their body used to feeling, that power. And so it wouldn't be out of the question to bring him some big guys for sure. Like if you're gonna fight Berlanga, get you some big super middleweights to spar with.
Yeah.
Get you a light heavyweight, get you some cruiserweights. At the end of the day, it's just sparring, but you want to be able to get used to that power for sure, because it can catch you by surprise.
Well, someone who keeps catching people by surprise, and I don't think he should be surprising anybody anymore, is old Nick Ball. You see his height, you see and think what's this guy? But dude, this guy is like the Energizer Bunny, man. He just does not take his foot off the gas, and has another big victory. Has had several big victories here recently, and adds to another one, man, getting a TKO stoppage at the end of the 10th round over TJ Doheny. Nick Ball, man, I'm a fan of this guy. I really want to see him against another significant name, and maybe one of the most significant names in the sport. The word is, Fernando, that Nick Ball possibly, could be, maybe fighting the Monster Inoue. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, assuming Inoue gets past his fight in May.
Assuming,
it'd be a heck of a fight. Obviously Inoue would be coming up in weight to fight Nick Ball. But what this fight's very interesting because Nick Ball, he's a nonstop pressure fighter. He's got a great gas tank, like you just said. And you know, he saw in his fight with Doheny, he systematically just broke him down. And they shared that common opponent, you know, Inoue and Ball, and they both of them stopped him. So this will be a good fight. Obviously, Inoue will be coming up in weight, so I'd like to see how he handles 126.
Right.
But sign me up. That'd be a great fight if they make it. It'd be a great fight.
Absolutely, man. And you know, you mentioned, and again, we're just briefly touching on this before we get into some of the meat and potatoes here. The Monster Inoue is actually going to be fighting in the U.S. A part of that big fight weekend that we'll get ready to discuss here in just a little bit. So just keep your eyes open for that. Very excited for what this year is shaping up to be an amazing year, and it already has things that we can discuss and controversy that we need to dive into. Let's go back a couple of weeks real quick, because again, it's been a couple of weeks since we had a chance to get together and do one of these shows. A couple of weeks ago, and again, we don't have to spend too much time on this because a little time has passed already, but I think it's important that we address what happened with Tank Davis. You know, guys, this was one of those ones, man, where we were all just like, come on, man, you know, let's get a real fight for Tank. we unanimously thought that, you know, Tank was just going to go in there and dust old guy. And Lamont Roach Jr. had different plans. He said, y'all wait a minute, don't sleep on me. And where do we start here, Fernando? What happened, man? Tank Davis, Lamont Roach officially ends in a draw, but a lot of controversy surrounding this.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot, but I'm gonna start out by giving a shout out to Roach, man. I said he was gonna be doing the stanky leg by round 5. And so I was wrong for sure. So hey, shout out to Lamont Roach, heck of a performance. But it's like they said on the telecast, they said it's when you try to walk down a fighter like Tank, it's like walking a tightrope, because at any given moment you can slip up, you can get caught with his monstrous power and get put to sleep. And if you would have told me that a guy with, was it only 14 stoppages and 26 wins or something like that, was going to walk down Tank, I would have laughed you out of the building, man. I would not have believed that. But that's what he was doing. He was walking down Tank, and he was doing it effectively, cautiously. He was not reckless. Good defense. You know, he'd counterpunch effectively, make him miss. I was like, why are we watching it? Like, there was times in the middle of the fight where Tank looked frustrated.
Man.
He looked like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Like,
And he was getting tagged too. Like Lamont was tagging him.
He was tagging him some good shots. And you know, you can tell by the mid rounds, you know, some urgency kicked in, and Tank was letting those hands go. And then what round? And then in the middle of the fight, then we saw the controversy, right?
We saw the controversy. You know, the video's evidence is there. A jab caused Tank Davis to take a knee. Davis saying that some hair grease fell in his eye because he had just got his hair done a day or two ago before the fight, and that, you know, he took a knee, and then not only did he take the knee, he went to his corner and was assisted by the corner, physically touched and interacted with by his corner. Another big no-no. And it was interesting because Steve Willis, who I think we're all a fan of, and
he's a great ref,
normally a really good referee, started counting, then stopped counting, and then was like, okay, let's just come on. It's a lot there. It's a lot there, man. Ultimately, I feel like Steve Willis definitely dropped the ball. He needed to be the authority. I mean, he called it right. His instincts were correct, but then he second guessed himself and then went back against that, and I think it turned into what it turned into. It's difficult to say, you know, how much that impacted the rest of the fight.
Well, I'll say this, you know, in boxing, we talk about robberies, right? When somebody clearly won the fight and then the judges, you know, screw up the decision. It's hard to call this fight that type of robbery because it was such a competitive fight. But when you take into consideration that a fair knockdown was scored, and that point would have been the difference between the draw and a split decision win for Roach, this is definitely a robbery. They robbed him of that because by the rule book, it says that's a knockdown. It doesn't matter. That should have been scored a knockdown. It was clear as day. You know, we can talk all day about Usyk and Dubois, but this was definitely a case where the guy took a knee, he went to his corner, and he could have been disqualified just for that alone.
Right.
And he takes a knee, they start counting, and then his corner gets up, they stop it immediately. Happened to Barrera against Junior Jones the first time. So they robbed him of that moment. They robbed him of the knockdown. Yeah, I mean that point definitely cost them. And it was really a blown call, and they didn't replay the next.
And then there's that too. There was a technical issue that they were not able to use the replay at the time. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah. So in a state where instant replay is a thing, instant replay, which is confusing. I don't know. I hate to cuss so early on the show, but if I could call it anything, there was some fuckery going on, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there it is, right? Ivory, what are your thoughts, man, on that Tank Davis Lamont Roach controversial fight?
Yeah, it's most definitely controversial. One thing I will say to Tank, not to defend Tank, but a knockdown, when your knee touched the canvas, that's a knockdown. Knee or glove, whatever, right? Technically. And when you're in the midst of action, that knee or glove touching the canvas needs to happen immediately, right? Kind of simultaneously almost. To me, it looked like there was enough time of lull before Tank looked over it at Willis and then took a knee. Roach threw a jab, but it looked like there was enough time of kind of non-action to where if something were to, if one of the fighters needed to their glove figured out or put their mouthpiece back in, there was enough downtime for a change to be made or whatever. That's the only thing that I kind of push back on for folks who say it was a robbery and things like that and it was an automatic knockdown. To me, it looked like there was a little bit of time between Roach's jab and when Tank took that knee to where it looked like it could be just a stoppage of action. And if something needs to be adjusted, we can do that. Now, you would like for Tank to check with the ref first, like give him a heads up or point at him or something. And he did look at him real quick. And with eyes as big as Steve Willis, you would think he saw that also. But he didn't, and Tank took it upon himself, said, well, fuck it. My eyes hurting or whatever, I'm going to take a knee. It happened real fast, but that's the only thing I can say in Tank's defense. It looked like there was enough non-action and then let's be honest, the A-side fighter, right? The big name guy kind of has the ref halfway in his pocket a little bit, right? When it comes to in-fight stuff that, let me pause here. Hey, he's grabbing my head. If the main guy is crying about it, the ref kind of jumps to it a little bit more. So that's one thing I got to say. It looked like there was a little stop in time where Tank kind of took it upon himself to stop that action. Now, it was foul the way he did it because the way you looked like you just stole my round from me. You know what I mean? You just walked off and didn't even acknowledge anybody or get anybody's attention. That's the kind of the disrespect and the part that kind of hurts for Roach a little bit. But to me, like I say, what do y'all? It looked like it was a little stoppage of action. Am I the only one who thinks that?
I disagree, but I know what you're saying because I think there was an opportunity for that gap,
right?
But I think he just took the knee, right? I think
right away.
I think it was pretty immediate. I think he could have. Hey, wait a minute. He could have said something. There's a different way to go about that. And here's the funny thing. Tank's been fighting since he's 7 years old. He knows this.
He knows
this. This is the part that for me is just like what's going on here. Like he knows this. And so for him to take that knee and then to go to his corner again, he knows all these things.
Yeah.
If we know them, Tank knows them. You know what I mean?
Them, yeah.
That is absolutely illegal. I mean, first there should have been a knockdown called. Second, by the book, could have been disqualified. Should have been disqualified.
A warning, a point, or something.
I mean, something should have happened there, but it didn't. Here's my other thing. We don't know if that is scored a knockdown right then and there, it changes how the rest of the fight goes.
Yeah.
We're looking back now and saying, if you change that part, Lamont Roach wins. But it may have never transpired that way if it was called a knockdown. You know what I mean? Like it's hard for us to say, and I think that's why the commission basically said we're not overturning the decision, because they did review it, right? The New York State Athletic Commission did review this, and they said, no, we're not. We agree that there was a mistake, but we're not overturning it because the fight continued for more than 3 rounds or whatever. I think it was their official statement. And it's true. Yeah. I mean, the rest of the fight happened, and who knows how different that would have looked. So now we're all speculating. So there really is no room for us to change anything here. And I think the commission actually got it right. There was an incorrect call. Agreed. Yeah. But we can't change it. Agreed. Yeah. You know?
I think at this point, you know, it would call maybe to order a rematch, you know, because sometimes, you know, you can't overturn a result, but you can order a direct rematch. I think that would be an appropriate situation. Because, and I think it's, I just got a breaking news here. I think they're working on it for June 21st. Just got a little pop up. But anyways, back to what I was saying.
Is that right?
I just got a little pop up right now.
With Tank and Roach?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Tank and Roach, June 21st, working on it, looks like. But as I was saying, you know, in any other state athletic commission, that particular moment would have been scored a knockdown. Whether a punch landed or not. Let's look. I mean, Floyd Mayweather versus Carlos Hernandez. He hits Carlos Hernandez on top of her head. What does he do? He's like, "Oh, my head," and he instinctively went down. I don't even think his knee touched all the way, but they started counting immediately. That was the only knockdown of Mayweather's career. Right. Was that moment? So it doesn't matter what happens. If you take a knee, that's a knockdown. I mean, there's no timeouts in boxing. You know, you can't do that.
I mean, go back to what was it? Was it the first, right? The first Sonny Liston fight with Muhammad Ali. You know, he was complaining that he had put something in his eyes and couldn't see. He was blink. I mean, you go back over the fight, man. Ali just dancing around like, man, I can't see. But did he take a knee? No, he did not. No, he did not. Again, man, I mean, even though, and here's the argument, right? Because even though it wasn't a damaging punch, like a brutal punch, a punch that we're accustomed to seeing knock guys down, it was still enough.
It landed.
It was still enough. It made contact. It was a legitimate shot, and the man took a knee. Should have been a knockdown. But again, the room for speculation is over. What's done is done. Maybe. Did you say June 21st? Is that what you said?
It was like June 21st from what I saw.
Possible. Unconfirmed yet, right?
Looks like not fully confirmed, but it looks like they're negotiating a few things. Looks like, but they're looking at June 21st.
Okay. So we
it could be held as soon as June 21st is what they're saying.
Could be held as soon.
Looks like they're working on a few things before they finalize it.
I tell you what, I'll be excited to see the rematch. I'll say that to you. And I will say that Lamont Roach, I mean, boy, did he put on a fight. That dude showed up, surprised me. I didn't give him a chance. But I'm looking forward to this.
And I'll tell you this much: for a fight that we criticized as non-pay-per-view worthy the first time, pay-per-view worthy now.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So you know, shout out to Lamont Roach, man. Get your money for sure.
Here's another thing. You know, they're from the same place. They're from the same city. They're from the same. Sometimes nobody knows you better.
That's right.
Than that dude just who from up the way. He been sparring. He been getting down with you all these years. I know your little tricks.
Yeah.
You know, I ain't afraid of none of that. I know you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think we got to give Roach some of that, and you know, and same thing happened across all forms of sports and competition. Like folks around the world and people who don't know you and ain't from your town, that little move you do, that may be new to them, but folks from around your way, we done seen this before, man.
Yeah, man. You ain't Tank. You just Javante from the block, man.
Right.
I know you.
That's all.
You don't scare me, man. Well, let me tell you something that's got a few people scared. And I'm talking about people, promoters and sanctioning bodies and organizations. Listen, man, there was, and Fernando said the word that I think is correct for this, a seismic, some seismic activity, man, something that happened. One of the biggest developments in our sports history, I do believe. His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh, a man that we have all become very big fans of, who has done some amazing things in the last year and a half, 2 years in the sport of boxing, has been responsible for some of the biggest bouts, some of the biggest cards, and a resurgence, to say the absolute least, in the sport of boxing.
Yeah.
He has announced a partnership with Dana White and TKO. TKO is the UFC, who owns the UFC and also the WWE. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And they have now partnered with His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh to form a new boxing league. And I'm hearing so much. I'm hearing a lot of different things about this. Dana White is saying, hey, doesn't matter, things like it's not going to matter who is, what letters are in front of that belt. There's going to be one championship per weight class, and whoever's got that belt is going to be the best, and you're going to know it. We're going to go after some of the best young talent out there. And Dana White says he's going to fix the broken sport of boxing. I just want to jump in and say I don't think boxing is broken. I think boxing has its flaws. I think some of these sanctioned bodies have gotten a little out of hand with all the different titles, all the different belts, just because they want to get all these sanctioning fees. I think there's some things that do need to be fixed, but repaired. Let me say that things need to be repaired. It's not broken. It's just, it does need, the boxing definitely needs a few tweaks. But I wouldn't go so far to say that boxing is broken, but I am, again, golly, you never know what's around the corner with Turkey and Saudi involved in the sport of boxing. But this was a huge development. It's got a lot of people wondering what is this really going to look like? Fernando, what do you think this looks like?
I think, if executed correctly, I think we're looking at the sport of boxing the way it was meant to be reimagined. Is they've been talking about reimagining the sport of boxing for a long time. I think this brings it back to the mainstream. I think this brings it back to the water coolers, where people talk about it becomes a water cooler sport again.
Yeah.
This is huge. This is huge. I'm interested in seeing how the sanctioning bodies fight back, because I don't think they're going to take this, lightly. You're taking money from them, because that's how they make their money. They charge fighters for the right to be called champions, basically. You win a belt, I need a percentage of your purse so you can win my belt. So I'm interested in seeing what's going on with that. I know the WBC made some statements about that earlier. Which is weird because it seemed like they were partnering up with Riyadh season for this Grand Prix that they're talking about.
Well, listen, there was a lot of initial statements from His Excellency and Dana. There was initial statement shot out by WBC, Mr. Suleiman. But I feel like everybody has collectively kind of walked back any kind of aggressive talk that they had. And it's been more of support, work together. Which I think is great. That's what I like to see. I'd like to see that continue. But again, I don't think anyone, maybe even His Excellency and Dana White themselves, don't necessarily know how this thing's going to play out just yet.
No, and I think Dana White even said they still haven't even figured out an official name for this yet, or if they're gonna call it a league to begin with. They might just call it a promotion, because the word league is kind of weird in boxing, So right. I don't know what that's gonna look like, but the positives right away are, more mainstream exposure. It's going to elevate the game for sure. It's going to elevate the sport. We're going to get a lot of fighters featured more prominently, and we're going to get one world champion per weight class. And I think they're talking about taking some of these weight classes out as well, and just keeping, I believe it was like 8 weight classes or something.
Yeah, they were saying they're going to eliminate some of the weight classes. Is that, again, man? I don't necessarily know how I feel about all that. I like some of it I don't. I mean, there are weight classes for a reason. Their weight class has been around a long time for a reason. Is it too much? I mean, I guess that's debatable.
But I think it starts with, like, you have the strawweight and light flyweight. I don't think there's any need for that, because you have a 105 division and then 108. That's 3 pounds.
Right.
I think we, just set the bar at, or lower it at 112. Keep it at 112 at the minimum, which is the flyweight division. Get rid of all the light and strawweight and all that stuff. Maybe there's a few, maybe keep bantamweight but not super bantam. Bantamweight straight to featherweight or something like that. I don't know. They'll figure that out, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting. I'm interested in seeing how that championship format is gonna look like for them. Like if you're a champion for their company, could you go out and fight for the WBC belt, or the WBA? Do those belts carry any more weight going forward after this? So I'm interested in seeing that. What's going to happen with that? Because at the end of the day, I mean, those belts have been around for decades, and so if you have a new company that's basically saying, "Hey, our championship is the one that's going to matter from now on," and nobody wants to fight for your belt anymore, well, now you're going to lose some revenue there.
Right.
So I'm interested in seeing that. What's going to happen with that?
Ivory, what are your thoughts, man? You league, I guess we're calling it, Dana White entering boxing. Something he's been talking about doing for a long time, but partnering with Turki Al-Sheikh, interesting choice, man. I mean, Turki's been working with a lot of boxing promoters, but he picks Dana White to be the one to lead this new venture for his venture into boxing.
Yeah, Dana White is the one. I'm gonna say one promoter, but if you want to line them all up, he's kind of top of the totem pole. All the boxing guys and the MMA guys, Dana White he's the one. And if you want somebody to make some shake and really to get some going, I would say Dana White's the one that you team up with, knowing that Dana White started in boxing, right?
Right.
So I like what they're doing. Yeah, there is some things they got to tweak out. As far as the weight classes, super this, junior this, I think maybe some of that can be worked out a little bit. My one thing I really wondered about is, like, if you do that, you take out some of the weight classes, you do away with some of these other belts that, it's kind of pay for play or whatever. What do we do with it? What now? And what I'm thinking is, or just an idea, is that everybody, you see what football has been trying to do for the past, 6, 7, 8 years, this AFL stuff and all these little other leagues that will never be. You see basketball, Grant Hill is trying to get some kind of high school league, like something to highlight the top high school players. And if you're a top high school player, we're at a point right now, you don't even have to go to college. You can go straight to the league, or you can go overseas. There's 3, 4, 5 other things you can do. So I think boxing is trying to get into that mode. It's trying to get into that lane where just off this one sport, off this one, for lack of a better word, off this one league, we can have 8 tentacles off of this one thing. Just think what the NBA has going on. WNBA, G League, you got Overtime Elite. They have a basketball league that they're doing. So I think these sports entities are having this idea of getting so many other things just hanging like tentacles off their already established brand. Like, what do you do if you do away with weight classes? Say everybody can't move up. Say that guy that you wiped out his weight class, what does he do? He has to gain 5 more pounds or whatever, 10 more pounds. What if you say, you know what? Everybody who can't make this weight or the weight classes that we got rid of, we got another little competition for y'all over here. We'll call you guys, I don't know, whatever, TKO2, whatever, our young up and comers, our lesser known fighters. Let's get some kind of program or something that we can get where we can showcase their talent still. So I think it's a collective thing. I think all sports are doing, and it's bring some other programs and other ideas to the forefront, but also still keep it attached to the established shit we already got going right now. And I'm thinking with Turki Al-Sheikh, Dana White, these are just ideas that they're going through right now. But I'm thinking they have to have something for the lesser known fighters, the smaller fighters, that if they're trying to wipe off their weight class, something to keep these guys going. It's only you're right. It only does well. It only does more for Dana and Turk. They can somehow keep these other guys in these other weight classes or whatever, keep them involved somehow. So that's not like I say, do you come up with another league? Do you come up with another weight class just for them? I'm interested to see what this is going to turn into, because I don't know if you guys have seen the WNBA have a 3-on-3 league going right now.
I guess I didn't know that.
Yeah.
full court WNBA, like WNBA All-Stars are playing full court ball 3-on-3 during their off season. Called Unrivaled or something like that. They also had something where they were doing 1-on-1 the other day during their off season. So these are just ideas that other leagues and you see what the NBA is trying to do with their All-Star. So I just think boxing is kind of in that mode right now. They're really brainstorming on other things, other games and other tallies that they can add to this thing to just keep eyes on it and keep everybody locked in and interested.
Well, speaking of things that we're not used to seeing happen, and again, I don't know if we don't know, right? Is this tied into the league now or what? We know that this is happening. It's official. Friday, May 2nd, there's going to be a boxing event that will take place in New York, not at the Garden, not at Barclays, none of those places. It's going to happen in Times Square.
Come on, Weather. You're right. You're right, Weather.
On Friday, May the 2nd, Ryan Garcia is going to be taking on Romero and what is going to be the main event for this card. On the undercard, you got Devin Haney versus Jose Carlos Ramirez. And before that, you've got Teofimo Lopez versus Arnold Barboza Jr. And I heard that they are going to be adding even more fights to this. In Times Square, ladies and gentlemen. In Times Square.
This is correct. This is direct competition right here.
I mean, I don't know what is going on. This is going to be, this is historic. This is going to be a historic kind of bout. That is it being presented by Riyadh Season.
I believe they're doing it under the Ring Magazine banner. If I'm not mistaken.
That's right. That's right. Ring Magazine. Excuse me. Absolutely right.
Yeah, which leads me to believe that maybe that could be, the league that they're talking about. Call it Ring. But anyways, back to your point. This is going to be a monumental show. They've been talking about doing shows at unique locations, for a while now, and they got another one brewing down the line too, elsewhere. But Times Square, I think it's a good opportunity to get these guys some exposure. And am I correct? Is it free to the public?
From what I'm understanding, what I'm understanding is that this is going to be limited seating. That they are going, and I believe they'll sell those. I believe they're going to sell those limited seats available. But then, if you've got a view or somewhere, I guess you can probably say, I don't know, you can't charge people that way.
No, it's New York, man. They got rooftops, man.
Yeah. So I think limited seats are going to be available from what I understand. And then I think there's going to be a very reasonable pay-per-view price for us to tune in and watch.
And by the way, guess who's back? Jim Lampley.
That's right. Jim Lampley.
The legend is back, man. I can't wait for that. So
Jim Lampley, there you go.
So if you're debating between going to catch it live, or now you have a reason to stay because we got Jim Lampley calling it back, man.
We got Jim Lampley on the call, man.
And it's gonna be a cheap pay-per-view, yeah, man. Take my money, man. Take my money.
Tell me that won't be how nostalgic that'll be. Not only for Lampley, just hearing his voice. But hearing his voice, and I don't know about y'all, when's the last time we seen an outside fight with Lampley on it? You know what I'm saying? A big time fight outside? Yeah. That's good shit right there.
No, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. And look, let's do this real quick. So you got Times Square that Friday, May 2nd. Saturday, May 3rd in Saudi Arabia. That's where Canelo's gonna be taking on William Scull. And I'm hearing, I don't know if it's official yet, but I'm hearing that on the undercard, Martin Bakoli's going to fight Efe Ajagba on the undercard for that. That's on Saturday, May the 3rd. And then the following day, May the 4th, in Vegas, Inoue is fighting his next fight against Cardenas. That's a hell of a weekend for the sport of boxing. That's amazing.
Yeah. That's one way to do it. May 5th, the Cinco de Mayo weekend is usually a big weekend in boxing. It's kind of like a Super Bowl weekend for us, in the boxing community. Cinco de Mayo and Independence Day, September 16th, that weekend usually are the biggest shows in boxing. And they're doing a triple header, really like a real triple header, because it's 3 days in a row. Friday with the Times Square show, and then Saturday in Saudi, and then you have the Sunday show in Vegas. This is the way to really hype up Cinco de Mayo weekend. Three high caliber shows back to back. I don't think I've ever seen a time in boxing where we've had something like that 3 days in a row. I seriously can't remember the last time I've seen that.
It's incredible. It's incredible. What a weekend that's going to be. Listen, obviously we're not near that date yet, so we're not going to break down all these fights, but just quick reaction. Let's go in order here. Teofimo Lopez, Hunter Barbosa Jr., part of that Times Square bout on Friday, May the 2nd. I got the chance to see the press conferences this past week. Teofimo is just, I don't know.
What's wrong with him, man?
I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on with Teofimo Lopez. I will personally just say that I think he's in need of an ass whooping. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Listen, man, I've been rooting for Teofimo for a long time. I've been rooting for Teofimo for a long time, but man, I'm not a fan of his antics as of late. Just rubbed me the wrong way. Not a fan of it. Him versus Arnold Barbosa Jr. What are your thoughts on this matchup? Just quick thoughts.
Quick thoughts. Kind of like you. Fan of him, but at the same time, I think he's due for an ass whipping again. And if you lose to Kambosos, you can lose to Barbosa. You can lose to Barbosa. So I'm a root for Barbosa here. Who's a very underrated guy. He has some couple quality wins. If Teo comes in here taking it lightly, he can have another Kambosos moment. It for sure can't happen if he takes him lightly. So you definitely want to be on your game for Barbosa, and I'm gonna be rooting for Barbosa. I'm gonna go on the record and say that. Not picking him yet, but I'm rooting for him.
Yeah, definitely rooting for the guy. Definitely rooting for the guy. What are your thoughts, Ivory?
Like y'all, man, I was a big fan of Teofimo. I mean, I guess really I still am. I'm just scratching my head, I love the way he came into the game, but he only had like 10, 13 professional fights or whatever it was, and he was already going for belts, right? So I was a big fan of that. Especially when he took care of Lomachenko. I mean, I was like, wow, this guy's. But lately, I don't know. I mean, and then what? He was fighting with his pops for a minute or whatever they had going on. And then I saw the makeup the other day. What was that? Are we, Fernando? I saw you put. Are we going YMCA? Is that what we're doing? Are we going Village People?
I mean, he was dressed like it. He was dressed like a Village People.
Yeah. Sure. Is he a Trumper? Is that what we're going for this one right there?
Staying completely away from that.
With the YMCA, I don't.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what he's going through, man. But he needs to go out here and look good. He doesn't have his opponent, not a big knockout rate, but looks like he's a technician. Look like he's a guy that goes the distance and just breaks you down as a fight goes on. And to prove something to some of the real boxing heads, that may be the type of opponent that Teofimo needs right now, right? You don't want anybody to go in there and that you just overly dominate, make it look too easy. But at the same time, you want to go in there and kind of have to match wits with somebody and box instead of just out talent them. So it'll be a good matchup for him. We'll see how he owns up to it.
I feel like the technical fighters are who has given Teofimo problems recently. Right. I think he's always trying to get that highlight, and he's not willing to do the work to break his opponent down and to get them to the point where he can execute some highlight stuff. So I think that stylistically, it's probably not the best matchup for Teofimo Lopez.
Yeah,
but I think it'll show something for the folks who are doubting him if he comes out on top, I think it'll kind of prove,
sure,
you know, he's still on top of
right.
Yeah, and don't forget, you know, who's the guy that had been questioning if he still has it? Sandor Martin, a low KO guy.
Right. Right.
You know, he's the one that made him say, "Do I still got it?" You know, and he's a very low KO percentage as well, and gave him all kinds of trouble.
And listen, after Lamont Roach, I'm not questioning that no more, man. I think any fighter, if he really want to show up and bite down, he can put it on whoever he need to, man. And Barbosa Jr. here looks pretty motivated for this fight.
He's got all the motivation he needed, right?
Right, absolutely. And just kind of going through the card there for May 2nd in Times Square. And again, the main and the co-main, it's supposed to be you win, I win, we fight each other type situation between Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. But again, that's not given. Devin Haney taking on the always dangerous in game Jose Carlos Ramirez. Listen, man, I love that. I love that fight. You see, got the little asterisk there next to Devin Haney's record. But
Danny Blocker, you think you slick?
Yeah, I think I want to do that. That's good stuff. But yeah, man, that to me that's a great fight. I like that fight. And again, that's not a given for Devin Haney.
No, it's a good fight. You know, Jose Carlos Ramirez. You know, he was a unified world champion at one point at 140. You know, he had that big fight with Josh Taylor. He was upset by Barbosa, by the way, as well, not long ago. So, you know, but he's still dangerous on any given night. And this is another situation where, like, I don't know necessarily that I'm picking him, but I'm probably rooting for him as well, just because I'm not a big fan of, you know, getting your ass whipped and then running to the principal and you know, getting the result overturned, you know, like Devin Haney did. So, and just the way Devin Haney went about that, it rubbed me the wrong way. You know, you get a result overturned and then you're celebrating that and kind of playing into that. So I kind of hope he gets his ass whipped on this one too. Maybe Ryan Garcia took something out of him in that fight, and you know, Jose Carlos Ramirez exposes it here. But it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun fight to watch. You know, like I said, Jose Carlos Ramirez is a dangerous fighter, and if Devin Haney is still anything what he was before that Ryan fight, I think, you know, it's gonna be a good fight for him too.
Yeah, it should be a great fight. I really like this matchup. I think it's going to really give us a chance to see where Haney is at right now, coming off of that, you know, off of that fight with Ryan Garcia, and you know, is Ramirez? I'm sure he's going to get up for this. I think he understands how big this is. I think Times Square and working with, you know, His Excellency and Riyadh Season and all that, a Ring Magazine. I think these guys know that this is a big opportunity for them that can lead to more big opportunities. So I think everybody's going to be bringing their A game, and I want to see how Jose Carlos Ramirez looks. I'm a big fan of his, and look forward to seeing him in there against Devin Haney. I think stylistically it should be a fun fight to watch. And again, the main event, you've got Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero. I mean, again, it's supposed to be Haney wins, Garcia wins, they fight each other. But, you know, I think of all these fights, this is the one that if I had a bet on and say, no, this is going to happen the way we think it's going to happen, it'll be this fight. I just think stylistically what Ryan Garcia's strengths are versus what Rolly Romero's weaknesses are, I think it fits like a glove. But again, we're just giving our initial reactions to this here. These aren't official predictions. We'll definitely do that as we get closer to the fight. But this one should be fun while it lasts.
No, for sure. And this one, you know, there is a little bit of a grudge match here between these two. You know, there's that infamous sparring video that's been all over YouTube where, you know, Rolly's putting it on Ryan Garcia, kind of whipping his ass a little bit there. And, you know, that was kind of like his big, like, badge of honor, right? I'm the guy that whooped your ass in sparring. I'm the guy that whooped your ass in sparring, and kind of called him out for years. And, you know, became a world champion. Ryan Garcia still hasn't officially become a world champion, but Rolly has. You know, Rolly fought Tank, and he's kind of, you know, had that tough loss to Pitbull as well. So it would seem that the trajectory of their careers has kind of gone in different directions. And, you know, Ryan has become more of a star, more of a superstar. But let's make no mistake, both of these guys don't like each other. And either one, if they land just right, could put the other one on their ass. So, you know, it's interesting. It's an interesting fight. I kind of lean with what you were saying also, that if one is definitely going to go a certain way, I think it'd be this one. I think, you know, Ryan should be a clear favorite here, just because Rolly has been hurt more times now. recently. But like I said, it's two guys that don't like each other, two guys with pop in both hands, and this one's going to be really fun while it lasts. For sure, it's going to be fun while it lasts.
Ivory, what are your thoughts on this, man? It's going to be happening in Times Square. Again, I think the main purpose of this, what they want to see, what Ring Magazine wants to see, is the rematch between Garcia and Haney. What are your thoughts on the event overall, and do you think it ends up working out that way?
You know what? No, I don't. I think boxing wise, yeah, I think Garcia should get the better of Rolly if you put everything in a vacuum. But this is New York, Times Square, another big moment, another millions, billions of eyes. I don't know if I trust Ryan Garcia. I don't know if I trust Ryan Garcia in this situation, man. I still need, you know what? I still need to see. You can't go from, and I don't know him. I'm not with his team. I don't know what they're doing on the day-to-day. Anytime I see something from Ryan Garcia, he's always doing some weird shit. He's always on some funny, some weird shit, some non-boxing shit. And now when the chips are on the table, fucking Times Square outside, Jim Lampley, you want me to put my faith in Ryan Garcia? I don't know if I can do that right now. You know what I'm saying? And it is not that I think he's going to lose or I think he fell off. I want to see where his head is at. You know what I mean? I want to see, can I put that faith in you to come through for me this time? Last time you ain't do that. Last time you ain't come through for me and you went off on a little tangent. So I ain't forgot about that. I need to see you. And here we go, back another big time, live, millions of eyes, big money situation, just like that. It kind of, not to get too crazy, but it kind of lets you know how the universe and how the world works. They setting it up for you to fail, Ryan. What you gonna do? They're setting it up for you. They let you do that weird shit with Haney, and now look what they got laid out in front of you this time around. It's set up for you to get laughed at, Ryan. And I don't know if I can put my faith in him. I gotta see him come out on the other side of this one.
Well, I get what you're saying, because you're right. Ryan, as of late, has been a very strange character. But I'll say that, and again, press conference is just a press conference, so we don't really know what it's going to look like come fight time. But I think he was one of the more tame people at the press conference, just to be honest with you. He seemed like he's kind of got a little chill back. Seems like he's kind of got himself together. I guess we'll have to see, right? I guess we'll have to see how that ends up working out, man. Is he or is he not with Reynoso? Did that last, or did he get out of there? Someone left the camp.
I think he is, but I believe because it's so close to, because they're fighting the day before Canelo. So Reynoso's priority is Canelo.
Oh, for sure.
So they're gonna have to send somebody in place of Reynoso, obviously. I think they already got that situation worked out. If I'm not mistaken, it's just a case of they're double booked. They can't have him,
okay, that
close. But I think he's still with Camp Reynoso and the Canelo team and all of them. I think he still is. I think just their main guy is priority right now. Canelo's priority. He's fighting. You gotta go with him.
All right. I mean, look, I can't wait to see it. Times Square, just the event itself, and then man, hear Jim Lampley back on the call. I cannot tell you what that does for me.
Look,
I can't tell you what that does for me.
Have Roy Jones on there with him as well. Maybe Max Kellerman. Maybe that's asking too much, but give me some of the old HBO guys, man.
Who do we know? Do we know who's going to be with him?
We don't know how that's going to work. I have heard Max Kellerman rumors. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Hey, it's in New York. Max, a New York guy,
right?
Let's go, man.
It only makes sense,
Maybe they bring. Never mind. I'm not gonna say it. Look, very next day, and really just hours later, half a day later, time wise, because I think this is gonna happen during the day, because the fight is in Saudi Arabia on May 3rd. Canelo making his debut in partnership with Ring Magazine, part of a 4-fight deal. That number has not been disclosed, but I can only imagine that number is probably a whole bunch of money that Canelo's going to be making over these next 4 fights. But he's fighting William Scull. Hold on.
Cool name.
I got William Scull, ladies and gentlemen. Is
hell of a name for a fighter.
Yeah,
William Scull.
I see you.
I don't know who William Scull is. I've been watching boxing a long time. I was like, who? But apparently, how's this work? He's got a belt. Is that how
nine,
that works?
Yeah, nine knockouts? Come on.
Yeah, he's got the IBF, if I'm not mistaken. He's got the IBF belt.
Right.
That was stripped from Canelo.
How did this guy go under my radar? Because I don't know this guy, Fernando.
Man, he was discussed before as a potential Canelo.
I remember that. I thought it was a joke.
And we thought that's what we said. Who's this guy? Apparently he's now a mandatory, or either he's a mandatory or he's got the belt. I can't keep up with it because I just don't know who this guy is, and I just don't know how the fuck the sanctioning bodies work anymore. But apparently, I think he's got the last piece. He's got the last piece to the undisputed 168 puzzle, and so that's why they're going after him. Cuban amateur standout, if I'm not mistaken. He's kind of made a few fights, I think, in Germany. I think his last one was in Germany. Won the vacant belt. But other than that, I don't know too much about him. I think Marcus was critical of him as well.
And I know they had their press conference when they announced this the other day, and I don't know if it was the Timberlands and the hat, or is William Scull really that big? Because he looked really big next to Canelo.
He's a big dude for 168. You can tell.
He's tall?
Tall, yeah. Tall dude, just big dude.
He had Timbs and a hat on, so I don't know, but
and this is one of those things where you do get Canelo credit too at the same time, because look at the size of the guys he's fighting. He's not fighting a journeyman. He's not fighting some 0-5 guy. He's fighting a legit super middleweight.
Who is a belt holder?
Who's a belt holder? Got a background to him. He's a Cuban standout. Those Cuban fighters from the amateur system. They have they're a different level.
Right.
So it's not like he's just fighting some Joe Schmo. We just haven't seen too much of this.
He doesn't have name recognition.
Doesn't have name recognition, and really, it's an appetizer for a big fight. It's really what it is. It's an appetizer for the big fight that they're talking about in September.
Right.
And all it is just an opportunity to see Canelo in between then. The party starts on Friday, and it's gonna keep going the next day. Early on.
And it's rumored. I don't think this is official yet. I'm not sure. I have to double check. But that on the undercard of the Canelo William Scull fight, there's going to be Martin Bakole versus Efe Ajagba, something that was originally supposed to happen previously, but because Bakole answered the call and saved the bout against Joseph Parker, ended up losing. That has got to get pushed out, but that looks like it's going to land on that undercard. Which is cool. I like that, and that will give us a chance to see where's Bakole really at right now.
Yeah. If I'm Bakole, I kind of would have asked for an easier touch as because this is supposed to be a bounce back fight, right?
Right.
If I'm Bakole, I'm starting to think, man, maybe Turki don't like me. I don't know. Why is he giving me these tough motherfuckers for? Well, because that job was no joke.
And after you gave me the late call last time.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to do me a favor this time around. Come on now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe this is the favor. Another payday, If
nothing else, yeah.
At least this time he's preparing. He's going to be in camp, So it's going to be interesting to see a in-camp Bakole against Efe Ajagba. Hopefully, it's not another loss for him. Back-to-back losses kind of takes away some of that hype he had built up. The hype that he built up when he beat Jared Anderson. So yeah, he needs a solid win, but it'll be a great fight for sure. Because Efe Ajagba, those who've seen him fight, that man can crack.
He was one of the top heavyweight prospects for a while.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great fight. Love that matchup. Can't wait to see it. That's on Saturday, May 3rd in Saudi Arabia. Then the next day, on May the 4th, back here in the States in Sin City, Las Vegas. Guess who's making their way to the USA? The Monster Inoue. He's going to be fighting a pretty good opponent in Cardenas. But, Inoue, talk about a guy who's been on a roll, on a tear, last couple of years, man. I mean, this guy's just been ripping through everybody. Not just squeaking on by, ripping through everybody.
Yeah, he's easily, right now I have him as my number 2 pound for pound in the world. And a lot of guys, a lot of people would have him number 1 too. It wouldn't, and it wouldn't be a debate, because he's that good. He's taken the opponents that you put in front of him.
Right.
Say Steph Fulton, who a lot of people were picking Fulton because everybody felt like, man, he's not seen a slick fighter like Fulton before from the United States. He's a tough guy. And we saw what Inoue did to him. Put him on his ass twice. He finished him. We saw what he did to Luis Neri, who was a tough guy from Mexico. Quality wins, had been to Japan and beat the Japanese fighters at home. He put his ass to sleep too. Like he's putting people on their ass. And he's doing it sensationally. Inoue is every bit the monster that they advertise him to be. He's a pound for pound guy. You know, if Usyk were to retire today, he'd probably be the number one guy in the world right now.
How about that? Well, and then real quick, just touch on this real fast. Rumored, still not official, right? In September, possibly September 12th, according to His Excellency, who just can't seem to. I don't know. Again, I'm real curious to see how him and Dana White work together, because in the interview that they did together, he just kept saying stuff, and Dana was like, "Stop saying it. Time out. We're not there yet. We're not there yet." But he was like, "Ask him about September 12th. Ask him about September 12th." I'm like, okay, what's going on? So it's rumored that that's going to be the date for Canelo Crawford, likely. Obviously, Canelo's got to beat William Scull, and Crawford said he's waiting for Canelo, so we won't be seeing Crawford before September. But apparently, that's going to be how this thing works out. Should be pretty interesting, man. If they end up making that happen September 12th, Canelo Crawford again. We'll go off on that one whenever we need to. But it's also now being speculated, and I don't know if it's been confirmed yet, but we're in March now. But next year, March 2026, they're going to do a fight in Alcatraz.
I heard
no
about
details on the event other than that's going to be the venue. Just like they're doing here in Times Square, they're talking about doing a fight in Alcatraz. Ivory, what? Wasn't this a movie? Like, what's going on,
man? They've used Alcatraz for a few different sporting events. I remember, man.
Oh, that's right. We
back
did
in
that
our
together, didn't we?
Back in our radio days.
That's right.
I remember we would promote and we
King of the Rock.
We interviewed some ball players. Yeah, The Rock.
King of the Rock.
It was they were having a 1-on-1 or a 3-on-3 basketball competition. Red Bull.
That's right.
Was sponsoring it.
That's
and they
right.
had a basketball competition at Alcatraz, and that's crazy. So to have a boxing event, much more people. I'd imagine you want fans out there, right? What's that going to look like? That's going to look like, what'd you say? What was that movie, The Rock?
Yeah. Yeah.
When Nicolas Cage and them was blowing up stuff.
Is that who was in it? Yeah, was that who it was? Yeah.
Yeah. Escape from Alcatraz. I mean, we've seen the movies, man. This will be cool. Like I wonder, the last time I've seen Alcatraz is when we were doing that promotion for Red Bull, and like it was still beat up and it was still jail shit like around.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was crazy, and I was like, wow, just imagine hosting any type of event here at Alcatraz. It's going to be wild, and to have a boxing match, to have that type of energy, that type of that type of ferocious and courageousness and just have that type of energy going around. That'd be a good one. Whoever's on that ticket, y'all gotta own up to some shit.
Look, man, I'm excited to see how things work out in Times Square, and I think that can set the tone and maybe what the expectations can be for something like that in Alcatraz. Again, I would assume that would probably end up being a very limited seating type situation.
Right.
Probably some high dollar shit. You know what I mean? Like, hey man, we only got like 100 of these joints, but they $100,000 a pop, or like 20 grand a pop. You know what I mean? Like very exclusive audience. Yeah. You know what I mean? Type deal. But I don't know, man. It'll be interesting to see, man, how that plays out. Who's on the card and all that, man. A lot of imagination.
You gotta get on a boat to get to Alcatraz.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you
get on a ferry or something.
Or swim
your ass over there.
Not recommended. Not recommended. Hey, listen, man, we'll wrap up here, and I don't know. I guess we might have lost Fernando here, but let's wrap this up. I got one question for you, Ivory. We saw Bivol Beterbiev fight not once but twice. Beterbiev wins the first one. Bivol wins fight number 2. Do you want to see them do it a third time, or would you rather see Bivol versus the Mexican monster, David Benavidez?
Yeah, whatever you're asking me. Yeah, I always feel like in boxing, whenever you split 1-1, you gotta do it.
Got to be the rubber match.
You gotta do it, man. You gotta do it. So,
and they were both really good fights.
Yeah. We're not talking about two bums here.
Right.
These are good fights. They're good fighters. So yeah, I always think once you split the first two, you got to go for the third one. And Benavidez, man, I think I've said this before. I think he's the mentality that a real boxing fan and an old school boxer, he's that mentality I think we want all guys to have. Benavidez is anybody, anywhere. Yeah, I said it. I mean it. I heard what you said. Come over here, say it to my face.
Right.
Like he is everything that we want in our boxers now. He's not ducking any fighters, So Benavidez against anybody, just for the camaraderie, just for that mentality, I'm with it. I'm with it because I know he is. He ain't ducking nobody.
I mean, I love it. I love it. I mean, so the first 2 fights were great with Beterbiev and Dimitri Bivol. I'm with you. I think we're right on the same page. Go ahead, run it one more time. Like let's settle the score there, and then let's bring David into the mix. But David, I mean, he's got a couple big fights he could do out there now. So I mean, it ain't got to be that. I mean, again, why? Maybe have them on the same card, since that's what it looks like they like doing. Have number 3, the winner of that fight the winner of Benavidez versus whoever he fights. And I think you set it up that way, and I think we got ourselves a pretty good calendar schedule for these guys.
Do you think any of them feel like, not that they were robbed, but that they had one of the 2 fights and they let it get away, and they need to get this third one?
I think so. I think absolutely. I think Bivol felt like that after he lost one, and I know Beterbiev feels like that now since he lost the second one.
Exactly.
And so I think as long as Beterbiev wants the fight, he should get the fight. Now if he's like, you know what, I'm done with this shit, then Bivol, go home, go ahead, man, and run it with Benavidez or another big name. But I like it. I mean, I think we agree. Let's have a part 3, and then let's start. Let's see what's next after that. Listen, that's going to do it for us today, ladies and gentlemen. Covered a lot here. Ivory, appreciate you, my brother, as always. And there's the honorable blocker, Al-Sheikh over there. Look at this dude, man.
Blocker Sheikh.
Right, man.
I'm Sheik.
Nando.
Sorry, y'all had some technical difficulties over here.
Oh man, it's all good. Hey, well, let's ask Fernando before we get out of here, because I asked Ivory, what if you had to pick? If you had to pick, do you want to see the rubber match with Bivol and Beterbiev, or do you want to just go ahead and say, hey, bring on David Benavidez for Bivol?
I said Benavidez. Bring Benavidez for Bivol.
Okay,
it's a big fight. I think we've seen enough of Beterbiev and Bivol. I mean, it was a good 2 fights, but let's give Benavidez a shot, man. He's the young monster that they're talking about. Let's see what he's got.
It's very tantalizing. It's very.
You don't want the third one. I think Fernando, coming from a trainer / fighter perspective.
Yeah.
Like, all right, man. I've seen this dude twice. Like, come on, man.
Yeah,
who else?
I mean, out there? As bad as I want to see Benavidez get it, and I think he deserves it. I 1-1. Man, gotta run it one more time.
You don't want to run it again, Nando?
The tiebreaker. It wouldn't be bad, but we talked about it before. I think if they did a trilogy, let's put Benavidez on the undercard and kind of sell it as, hey, Benavidez fights the winner.
That's what we said. You be proud of us. We said that, didn't we? We said
that's fantastic. That's exactly what they said. That's exactly what they said.
That'd be good. That'd be good.
Yeah. Block, appreciate you, man.
Always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure. Love what I'm learning. And excited.
Block Al-Sheikh, I see on there. His Excellency.
The honorable. I see
the honorable Block.
It up on us, man. Okay. His honorableness.
Line it up, man.
Well, look, I got everything ready to rock and roll, man. Again, a real pleasure to get to do this with y'all, as always.
Fellas, any last words, man? Any last parting shots real quick? Fernando, anything you want to say?
Hey, man, always happy to be here. For those that missed it, go on ESPN Plus and watch that Taraji versus Akui fight. I hope I pronounced his name right. The two Japanese dudes put on a hell of a fight, man. You know, if you're a casual, you'll be entertained with that one. It's a great fight. You know, those Japanese guys always put on great fights. Tune into that. And then, of course, you know, can't wait till the next one, man. Can't wait till the next show we do, man. Talk some more boxing with you guys.
Hey, man, love it. Ivory, whatever you say, man. What you got for us before you get out of here?
Hey, man, listen, the basketball season about to hit playoff time here shortly, and it'll be just in time for these big fights to pop up in May. So it'll be a hell of a time, man. Go ahead and enjoy this little bit of sun that's coming out now. But get ready for this May, June, July, this summertime, and we're really gonna see the shit hit the fan and see how this basketball season wraps up and how this boxing season turns and gets even bigger and better.
Absolutely. Well, man, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Always a pleasure to be on here with you, talking to Sweet Science. Don't forget to follow us up on social media. Look us up, Fair Ones and Fairways on X. You just Fair Ones. That's all you got to find. And like I said, man, tuning in, keep it locked. And until next time, keep your hands up.